So the time is 20 past 3 Swedish Norwegian time. So I will hand over to my colleague Torsten Hertel, who is going to talk about IFC. Welcome, Torsten.
Thank you, Fredrik, and thanks everyone for joining me here today. Great opportunity to be part of this very interesting event organized. And I'm coming to you today with the topic of IFC, specifically IFC 4.3 as a guiding path. Before we start, I'll give you a little bit of an outline where I'm coming from. I'm from the structural divisions here from Trimble, and my territory is the open standards. So IFC and other standards where we have many in the building industry is that where I'm working with organizations, associations, and especially then also with customers, which then gives me also an insight from the inside and from the outside. And to build a bridge to what this is also a major chapter today, bridge and tunnels. Of course, you are also living and breathing in the open BIM environment, so do we in the structural world. And I'm trying to build this bridge a little bit in the sense that what the structures world is doing towards also what our colleagues here clearly have presented already very powerful, what the NovaPoint and the Quadri offering is in this regard, and where we from the structures world try to fit in to bring the best added value to the table. This is roughly the agenda for this condensed presentation about the subject. And I hope we have, at the end, the most time spent on question and answers, as I believe this is the most essential thing, getting to understand where we are and we want to be with the input of the attendees. All right, maybe fundamentals first, and I'm certainly not giving you any news on this, but these industry foundation classes, IFC, they are a wonderful instrument in our industry, bridging really from one to B in such an unprecedented perspective. We don't have any other format, so to speak, or interface schema to do this. Sometimes it's underestimated what actually has been here created a long time ago, and where we still work on today. One important thing, it's an ISO certified standard. And that is also giving us the certainty that this is not going away or will fade away or will just get stuck, because it's definitely there to stay. Historically wise, maybe a little bit of an reminder altogether to understand why certain things also sometimes take a bit longer before they actually see the light of day. As a kind of significant schema to remember, IFC 2x3, which is there in the industry for quite a while. It was actually certified in 2006. So this is something which is quite a long time established and used as of today. And then we moved on to be kind of ISO certified in 2014, the IFC 4, which is also quite a while ago. And then it took a while before we then ended up on IFC 4.3, which is here from a Trimble perspective, when we really see all the domains and disciplines more united, the actual vehicle, what we want to have, talking about all the domains. So previously, the 2x3 domain, this was more a building answer, so was IFC 4. But now with IFC 4.3, we actually have the right thing for attracting all the other domains in the right container and getting really things done, bridged nicely to go forward. One important thing I would like to mention here, this is something specifically for the structure side, is the certification of IFC. It has sometimes caused confusion where we stand with this, but it's very important to understand that we have from our software development taken a tremendous effort to be certified as a software product. So our IFC export and import 2x3 has been certified a long time ago, and we have recently also obtained the full certification of IFC 4 for the import and export in a regard which has caused some people to wonder where we are with the certification status. So this is all boxed, so to speak, if I may say. We are on the safe side, or you as a user, if you are struggling with a certain level of contractual definitions, whether our Tekla Structures import-export is certified, it is. Here you see also the latest from the Building Smart website. There you can see all the software products being certified. And here on the right-hand side as an image, the software certificate also being handed out. I take this also as an opportunity to put this a little bit in context. You do not have necessarily the need to be a certified product to deliver a top-notch or a schema-conform IFC. So in all these large projects, we find ourselves being involved. It's not necessarily so that you always have certified products regarding the IFC import-export. At the end of the day, you need to write and read IFC conform data, and that is not necessarily bound to a certificate. Just to be clear on this. Maybe another stand on this is also if you wonder where's IFC 4.3. There's at the moment no certification process established of Building Smart. Building Smart, the kind of umbrella organization, the home of OpenBIM, they would be the ones who are issuing these certificates. This is not in place yet. Whereas, of course, there's a valid question, will it be in the future? And that is being discussed on that level. So the future will tell where we are in a couple of years eventually with all new things what Building Smart is establishing on services, that we will also be in a position to have certified IFC 4.3 software products. Okay, then maybe a word on the utilization of IFC. From Tekla Structures perspective, IFC is one major vehicle of information, tremendously important from the input and from the output side. In simple terms, where it really comes in, we are having this IFC reference file technology where you use from other sources IFC files to insert into the model and then work with this information on a smart way, inquire, touch, and whatever you can imagine. This is very well done and gives us really the opportunity to reuse the data. Reusing the data is another aspect. There we have the IFC object conversion feature, which translates IFC objects or reference objects in our kind of jargon to speak into native objects. So that's the way into the authoring software. And then when it comes to the output, of course, that's where the most are basically taking a look at is the deliverables of IFC schema. And that's the key element for collaboration, coordination, and production data. In that sense, from the structures world, IFC has become more important for production data than ever before. More and more industries recognizing IFC from a value perspective as a deliverable for manufacturing or consuming it for automation. So also here, there's a clear benefit of being IFC deliverable able in order to deliver information for the next level of automation, because we are all moving towards the cloud and towards automated fabrication to a certain degree, and we need to have a very suitable file format for that, or schema to be more precise. Well, then, the most one still on this planet, although that there are no supporting numbers, it's very difficult to find from all the industry or from all the software vendors numbers who's using IFC 2x3. But speaking for ourselves, what we know from our customers, IFC 2x3 is the most used one still. Although you might say and think this is fairly old, it's still valid for many workflows, and it's still very much maintained on our side. But it's so that everything has its limits, and so does 2x3. And there's also a reason why new formats or new schemas like IFC4 were established. And that brings me to the IFC4 export in Tekla Structures, which is particularly for the IFC4 or 4.3 export. And we have recognized a clear, say, demand or even a focus more and more from our customers to build upon IFC4 or 4.3. And that gives us also kind of the need to improve, absolutely. And we, of course, very much driven by improvements. But just for here, the users on board in the presentation, we are definitely here on board with improving more and more. And maybe a word about IFC 4.3 here. When you look at the dialog, you're not explicitly will find IFC 4.3 here named. You will find this as an export type reference view or the bridge view. So this is something which I will come to later on. So at the moment, we have a limited support for IFC 4.3, which is specifically for bridge. Another driving force, and I mentioned this in this previous dialogue, is the IFC mandate. And that's also where customers are coming forward and asking us for a better support in this kind of scenario. There's an interesting publication by Building Smart International, the Global Open BIM Mandate, and that's also a clear driver or a reflection to what's happening on the world in the world. And we are here in the Nordics. We are actually quite well positioned. Nordics, maybe then here in extended perspective, also UK and in surrounding countries. It has been recognized that these BIM mandates are the right way to go forward. So this is clearly a driving force that we have from a governmental body, also to push towards the industry to move forward and to adopt new technologies. So this helps us all together. Another thing, if you haven't had access to the, say, newer Tekla Structures versions, here, this is a very nice improvement which we have shipped with IFC, with Tekla Structures 2024, the property set dialog improvements. Previously, it was a bit challenging, to be honest, to set all the property definitions the way that you as a user, not necessarily doing it too often, get right away the settings right. We have put this upside down and came out with a completely new dialogue and functionality to do this for both the IFC 2x3 as well as the IFC 4 and 4.3 export. So this is a way more elegant way to handle your property sets, which is a super important aspect to really cover all your specifics when it goes out to IFC. So if you haven't had a look or haven't utilized this, I strongly recommend to take a closer look. This is a great improvement altogether. Sorry, my laptop had a little bit delay of reacting. Then another aspect of what I mentioned earlier, the IFC object conversion. A word on this. At the moment, it is so that we have these conversion feature working very well for IFC 2x3. But for those who are in the infrastructure world, not in the buildings world per se, it bears a limitation in that sense. We don't have at the moment an IFC 4 or 4.3 schema conversion, meaning that if you have, for instance, a bridge coming from a other solution and you have structural elements to detail in Tekla Structures, the object converter, as we know it, is currently not in the position to do that, the conversion. But I'm saying this with in that regard that we are very much aware of the situation of this limitation, and we will certainly work on this, that you in the infrastructure world have benefits in the very near future in this regard. Okay, then a little bit more clearance on the IFC 4.3 situation. IFC 4.3, and my colleagues have presented already on this subject in various presentations today. But here in the scale of Tekla Structures, maybe to mention this also, IFC 4.3 is a game changer. What we had previously with 4 and with 2x3 in specifics, we were basically bound in the buildings domain. And now with 4.3, this is the game changer. We have so much more disciplines or domains, which is also then a wonderful thing, but there's also a certain way to extend things from our side, the software vendors, to make it right. And of course, we are doing the job in order to get you effectively working with IFC 4.3 now and in the future. A word maybe for further development, tunnel you're seeing here in the image, there is no line dotted to 4.3. So this is something which is currently under work by the Building Smart and the chapters, or to say the domains, to establish the tunnel domain as a probably new schema out of 4.3 becoming 4.4. We will see when this has finally consolidated, but we are prepared then also to having corresponding support software-wise. So, okay, so 4.3 on Tekla Structures, how does basically look like? In that sense, we have here our means in the IFC 4 export, and here giving you a little bit of a heads up how this looks and how it should look. Primarily, it's so that we have in our IFC export no specific version selector, and you are then selecting if you have a bridge in particular the export type bridge view 4.3. Export type basically translate to model view definition in IFC jargon, which means that's a subset of information for a specific domain or trade. And here we have at the moment this solution in that regard that we have established, to be honest, a bridge view. That's something which is not officially present in the building smart schema definition, but from Tekla Structures point of view, to be able to export bridge related IFC 4.3 files, this is your this is your selection in order to get this out. Of course, in cooperation with the property sets. And in order to also get the right objects out, here on the right-hand side, the smaller snapshot here, this is on the side pane, the settings. You have to configure your model objects or the assemblies, the cast units, respectively, the pour units in this regard, that these are all structured in accordance to the IFC specific bridge entities, so that this is all working hand in hand. We do recognize that this is an aspect where we have to improve, and I can already comfort you here that this is definitely under work, that this improves in the near future to way better handling, so that this is more conform for specific domain handling of bridges and whatever we are supporting from the structure side. So altogether, IFC 4.3, what are we going to do? We are, of course, staying true to our domain, the buildings and the bridges. This is where we are active at the moment. And we are looking into the other domains where there is need, respectively requirements from the customer side. But we will take an effort to consolidate here settings and making it better. So we will also take a look at if we can simplify this in a greater perspective, as you have at the moment 2 IFC exports, a 2x3 and a 4 or 4.3 in addition, as well as we will certainly update to the latest IFC 4.3 schema, which is at the moment addendum 2. And we also have very, very handy and specifically requested feature requirements in the making to come out as improvements for you in a very foreseeable future. So very good things lined up on the horizon. And maybe a little bit going beyond IFC 4.3, where we are at the moment, you probably have been also seeing things coming along from the building smart world more and more to your project world. And 3 things here to mention in specific is IDS, information delivery specification, the validation service, and the data dictionary. Maybe a short word about IDS. That's your new mechanism to get your specifications. What needs to be in a IFC when it goes to the property sets, etc. Nicely defined in XML based schema, so it's in a machine readable format, as well as the softwares which are out there to specify all these requirements, creating also wonderful looking documents. But here there is our work also lined up to use this IDS, this information delivery specification, as an input to make use of this specified information in regards to Tekla structure settings and IFC outputs. So stay tuned on that. Validation service, I will come in a moment to this, and BSDD is also a nice service, which is kind of a cloud database or a warehouse established by Building Smart, where a manufacturer, for instance, could host all his or her products entity-wise and would have all the properties available to be retrieved in a web service like style to be connected to an application. So this will streamline the inquiry and the storing of attributes in a way or another, so that you can rely on one database, so to speak, and then we will bridge these kind of ways so that you basically retrieve the data and can store these in the authoring software. So this will be also something we are looking forward to. Validation service, maybe then something to be a little bit more detailed here in a visual thing. For those of you who haven't seen the Building Smart Validation Service, please take a look. You need access to the Building Smart web service, so you need to have some credentials. But that's a wonderful tool to validate your IFC files against the schema definition. It's not testing whether you have correct settings or correct data in the first place by definition. It's having a schema test. But I'm quite sure you have also faced here and there situations that you would have liked to have someone saying, is this file actually data-wise correct? Is it a fundamentally correct IFC file? And this is basically your medium to do so. What you do here is basically uploading a file to a web service hosted by the Building Smart, which then checks the actual IFC against the schema and runs basic rules to see whether it is compliant or not. It doesn't validate everything. It cannot catch everything, as there's a vast majority of things outside of this validation scope. But it's a wonderful tool, at least to verify that the IFCs you get or you write schema valid, which is an entry level to say my data is correct and yours might be wrong when there's a situation to argue. So if you haven't had a look at this, I strongly recommend to take a closer look, as this definitely is a time saver when it comes to exchanging data or relying on anyone else's data. All right, IFC 4.3, relatively fresh from an ISO certification perspective. And there's already the future lined up, and that is in form of IFC 5. Maybe IFC 5 is a little bit misleading aspect. It's not necessarily so that it might be the version 5. We could also call it IFC Next. Just to give you a little bit of an heads up, what is now under work by Building Smart and the leading software vendors and all parties basically who are in the chapters in Building Smart, looking into the next generation of IFC. Left-hand side, you see the IFC file as we know it as of today. It's a so-called express schema, or in other form, it's a step protocol file. It looks like this. You know probably the complexity it bears when you look at this and you try to understand. On the right-hand side, this is the, say, next generation of IFC. And it's a totally different construct. It's a JavaScript object notation format for those who are more on the technical implementer side. This is a totally different way of consuming or writing the data. Here, it might be said that this is the way forward for the future. The existing schemas, and that's a very strong message to be made and understood, they're not going away. So there's no point to be afraid that there's a new IFC schema at some point entering the stage. We do have changing requirements in the industry. We are evolving in many ways, and we are going more and more to cloud service everywhere, sooner or later. And for this, we need also purpose-driven interfaces, which reflect on requirements the industry have. And that's the answer to IFC, basically, to say we are looking into the future. We are taking the requirements into account and finding new ways to structure data in a meaningful way that this can be all accomplished. With the existing IFC schema, as you know it, it is not so straightforward, but it will not go away. There's for everything a purpose. The cloud-based workflow does not necessarily mean we will have the file sharing or the file-based workflows completely made obsolete with this. So this would be a misunderstanding. So therefore, just as an information, work is being carried out, and it will certainly still take some time, but rest assured, we are working on this. And to give you an idea how this looks like, because we are already in the making phase on the left-hand side, this is a Tekla Structures model, is one of our internal sample models. And on the right-hand side, you see, and I'm here just now taking the moment to say a word about some other software. The import of this IFC5 file generated by Tekla Structures imported in that, and it just works to that extent where we are at the moment. To where we are, this is a very alpha stage altogether of IFC5, but it's a tremendous achievement that we are at the current stage already that far, that we have interoperability established on that really fresh level. So it's very promising, and it will still take time before this all hits the ground, in simple words. But just to comfort you, we are also working on the future. Okay, maybe summary in this regard. One important thing, as mentioned before, certification is important. It is a important aspect when you have contractual terms. We have a certified software. We have certified IFC exports and imports. IFC 2x3 is still the favorite schema out there, and it's not going away. But we have more and more the drive for IFC 4 and 4.3, and we are listening. We are definitely listening and then adopting, and we are reacting to requirements as fast as we can to have you customers doing your job in the most efficient way. So therefore, never stop coming forward with requirements. We really depend on that. And that also being said, we are maintaining our exports constantly. I can assure you this is one of the major parts where the software is being improved, and we will continue to do so. Specifically now with 4.3 as the mandates coming forward, and here more and more usage of this schema means also that more and more requirements coming through. Another conclusion, building smart services are becoming more and more visible to the industry and will be utilized. We reflect on this also from a software vendor point of view and trying to establish meaningful services for you customers as quickly as we can. And lastly, just mentioning again, IFC is very much alive and the next generation of it is under development. Okay, my presentation would be here with at the end. As I can see, we have still a few minutes left. I would be happy if you have a couple of questions.
Yes, perfect, Torsten. Thank you for the presentation. I go on. Any plan of having a special breakdown structure based on alignment and placement for bridges instead of grid lines and levels?
That's an interesting question. And very specific. To be honest, I would even invite, but he's not here. My colleague Gabriel from the bridge say domain. He would be very much the person I could ask. So maybe I take note, and we give you a proper answer in the later run of this. As this is a requirement, we certainly want to listen and want to make sure that you get the features you need. Thank you for the question.
Great, and I keep going. Provided that Tekla is looking into adopting BSDD, will it support in the future dynamic UDA based on typing of objects? For instance, objects getting specific UDA fields assigned because it's declared as an edge beam.
Thank you for the question. Yeah, this would reflect clearly then the state that something is in the outside of the system defined, which the inside doesn't have. So this would be going along that we would need to face this kind of specific requirement to have dynamically created properties indeed. So otherwise we would have you user basically going back, change the setup of the system in order to make this connection work. Yeah, but yeah, we certainly have to do some work still to make this perfectly fine. Yeah, and to mention this from that angle, as Frederick already said, that here my contact data in this regard, I'm happy to have contacts in that sense. If you want to bring something forward, we want to be and we are close to customers. So please let us know your requirements, because we do this for you, improving the software. And that means that we need your requirements in order to match your way of working or bringing you the added value you are asking for.